Yep.
It
And
did.
there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're off to the races.
All right.
How's it going, boys?
It's pretty good.
So
Let me
far,
just
so
fix
good.
my mic. We made a fucking album.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about it and kind of give a little bit of like a behind the scenes,
You like
behind the music kind of
If
thing.
you like turn and face us a little bit more, I feel like you're addressing like a teleprompter.
Hello, citizens.
As you can tell, this is very natural to
Yeah.
us.
But yeah, I think it's really exciting, the album we've got, and I'm very proud of the way we went about it. So I think this is a cool opportunity to like tell some of the stories behind it, explain some of the choices.
I mean, I think the real thing is we sunk a bunch of money into this. We want to tell people why.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom,
Justify
if you're
it.
listening, this is why I spent this much money.
Yeah.
It's for ourselves mainly.
Yeah, pure ego.
yeah, pure ego trip, and now we need to justify it. right?
Exactly. Yeah.
No one else cares that it's on tape but us. But hey, man.
Yeah, well, I guess
It's validating.
we can kind of start to get into it a little bit. So we recorded 6 songs, and we recorded at Little Bullhorn Studios in Ottawa.
We weren't going to record 6 songs.
Yeah, no, that was not the plan going in. We initially selected 3 songs we really wanted to do, but had 6 that we wanted to record bed tracks live off the floor off of, and then the 3 that we wanted to overdub and really bring to like a final song level. But we got excited and we did all of them.
Well, okay.
We came prepared, first
Yeah.
of all.
We got through maybe 1 song or 2, and then we kind of realized, someone said like we went through that quick. We have time to like do more stuff, and it immediately in my mind was like we could have an album. Bully the band.
Yeah.
And like very quickly it was like, hey guys, we could do this. We could do this if we want. And fucking here we are.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we recorded live off the floor to tape. When we visited this studio, we saw they have a ton of like really cool old analog gear.
Yes.
So that was
And you went nuts.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
You did shit that the producer did not want to do or like ever think to do.
yeah. So it was fun. It was cool to
We
try a lot
experimented
of
a
stuff.
bit, and took
Exactly.
advantage of the equipment that was there. Like I know, especially for me, all the vintage keyboards that were there. That
my
was
God.
one of the main reasons I wanted to go to that place. Is
Yeah.
just have access to a B3, a Rhodes, Wurlitzer, like everything.
You pretty much had a room that
Yeah.
was your
Full-
mecca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it helps that the producer was a keyboardist. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a keyboardist.
Evidently
so-
by the mecca.
Yes.
No, I mean, and he had plate reverb in there and everything.
had
like
a
we had
real plate.
We had a lot of toys to play around with
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
And we did.
Yeah.
Can we talk about why we wanted to record live off the floor and why we wanted to record to tape?
Yeah, well, I think the last time we recorded, which was our single Heavy Bones, that was really the first time we'd tried live off the floor recording.
I think we recorded that like 6 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So that was really our first foray into it. And the cool thing was that's how you really get like the feel of the band.
Yeah.
You're not like building up the tracks, everyone playing to a click. You're just playing to each other. And it creates a unique feel that it's really hard to replicate. Of course, it's different. It's not going to be as, like tight as everybody playing with a metronome. But, for our style of music and the songs we were bringing to it, I think it made a lot of sense.
It adds feel, and especially to something that me and you have talked about a lot is we want our recordings to be a representation of someone coming and seeing us live, right?
Exactly,
like
yeah.
we don't want to release something, people like it, they come see us play and they're like, these guys are dog shit.
Yeah, sounds
Like-
nothing like it. We've always kind of strove for it. Like, obviously, our live shows, it's different than what you're hearing on the recording.
Yeah.
But it's more of like an evolution, not like a complete, different feel sort of thing. It's the same feel, but, we'll add sometimes different parts, extend some parts,
Oh yeah.
put cuts and stuff, and, have fun with it.
And I think one thing that's great about doing that, like all together, is we've been playing together for 7-8 years. at
I've
this
been in
point.
the band since 2017.
So there's always some kind of this magic that we have because we know each other pretty well. We know how we play. We can react to each other. We have this kind of of energy that we get, and then be able to capture that. You wouldn't get that if we were all recording to a click, right? If we were all recording our tracks separately and then adding them on, like we lose part of it.
Plus, then you guys would discover how dog shit your drummer actually is, and that's not something I'm willing to admit yet.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I think this is probably a pretty good time to like start getting into some of the like specifics of the songs, right? So I think we go in order of songs as they'll appear on the album.
Sure, yeah.
As we've decided up to this point, but that might change.
That's a great segue.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't say like the first song or the second song. We should just say the song. Yeah. We can reorder them later in post.
So exactly.
Oh, good. More work for Taylor.
We'll start with When the Days Are Done. So
that's the title of the album.
Yes, and the title of the song. So.
And debatably, we were debating on whether or not it should be the first or second song. I guess we can touch on that when we talk about Bombshell. But
yeah, exactly. But so this was the first song we recorded, and as I was trying to think back on the process, what I really remember is like we got in the morning, we set up everything, we got everything mic'd up, ready to roll, and then we started recording. And it didn't really like feel locked in right away. Like I know for me personally, like my guitar was just like going wildly out of tune or playing. It was hard to like really focus in and on the groove.
Me and you were not locking in.
Yeah.
I think was a big thing, which I mean, fuck, we live together. Usually me and you are pretty locked in, but I think we were struggling to lock in.
Yeah. So we did 2 takes and we weren't really feeling it, but this was around lunchtime. So we took a break, went to have lunch.
Yeah.
Came back, and then immediately, that was it.
I remember the take because our producer, Dave, picked up his cell phone and was running around taking a video of it. And I just, the look on his face of him being excited about the sound, it just fucking, it got me in the zone.
Got us all amped up. So that was really cool. And it was really like the first time, like, okay, now we're in it. Like, we're ready to roll. We're capturing stuff that we know we're going to use.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. That's really the first thing I thought of.
I do want to talk about the writing process of it a lot because we brought you in a little later into it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't like this song for a while.
Really? Okay.
I don't know if you remember this,
Yeah.
but it was a couple that we were working on at the same time, and I was like, man, Fallen, I think we were calling it at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't like, and you're like, give it a chance, give it a chance. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then we bring it to Montreal. We're like practicing with Max.
Yeah.
I think at this point we were like thinking about recording, or we had decided when we were recording, and Max played on it. And it just immediately, I was like, that's what was missing. Yeah. And it might be my favorite song on this record.
It's definitely the one that I feel like is more emblematic of our sound. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, if we want to summarize Varitones sound, I think this one has everything, right? It has the heavy guitars, has like a wide range of vocals, has the keyboard solo, so a bit biased.
It has me and you
backing vocals,
locking in for the little funky breakdown there.
Yeah. So there's everything, and so that one I feel
after a halftime like debatably metal section, we go into like pulling back and just doing this like funky breakdown in which I do my favorite thing that I do on the entire album, which is that triplet on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Your moment is my soul. I like it.
We share that together.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about it, like Max, when I was thinking back, that was another thing that kind of jumped out. Is like, okay, like there's a really great keyboard solo on this. And I remember
I wrote it the day before.
You wrote it the day before. So I was kind of curious of like what was going on in your head as you were doing it, and
Yeah. Well, I remember like I wanted to explore like different kind of techniques on the keyboard. So like I tried to approach the way I play keyboards kind of like a guitar player in some way. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to emulate.
Okay.
And all my solos prior to that point are very pentatonic based, and this one still is, but there's a little bit more than that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Like I use different scale degrees. I use a bit of chromaticism, stuff like that. But I realized like I always finish or end my phrases on triplets.
Yeah.
Like it's. Whenever I want to close down a section, it's a triplet.
To be honest, all of our songs are swung And if you do fills in triplets, it'll work.
yeah. But like, I was listening to like the solo that I played on Dynamite as well, and that solo is like 16 bars. So on bar 8, there's a triplet, and then on bar 16, there's a triplet, and I do the same thing in this song. So I guess that's my signature, is just ending with a triplet. So that's what's going through my mind.
I mean, definitely in this case, it worked out well, because
Yeah.
I remember us hearing the solo back, and we're like, oh
Yeah,
he
we're-
did good. You know?
And we actually, I think, heard it for the first time at the studio.
Yeah, I wrote it the day
And you were
before.
like, okay, guys, and we're setting up one of the pianos, like, and you were like, I guess I'll show you guys my solo.
Yeah.
And you played it, and we're like, you need to write your solos more, dude.
yeah, just blasting pentatonic scales is not gonna cut it anymore.
Fuck, I plan out my solos. Write yours down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was I think it's a really bright spot on the track and on the album. So it was really cool to hear it. Another thing that I think of with this song was in the process of overdubbing guitars. Like, I had kind of an idea of different sounds I wanted to use throughout the album with like my guitar gear. And for this one, I wanted to use one of the amps that was in the studio.
I
and
forgot about this.
really just crank it up, right? Like, have it, a lot of power tubes, distortion and everything. So we're going through the track, we get it set up, and it sounds fucking great.
It sounded amazing.
Yeah, like it's really cool. We get to run your keyboard solo, and the amp just craps out
Yeah.
and dies. So at that point, we kind of had to think, okay, how are we going to finish this? And we decided to use a technique that we'll talk a little bit more later for another song, because it was featured a lot more prominently there. But what ends up happening is, at a certain point, it's around your solo, the guitar sound changes because the amp exploded.
Yeah, you broke Dave's amp.
Yeah,
I think you lost money on us overall during the whole process.
No, I
That in the Wurlitzer.
I gave him a set of power tubes, so
Okay.
I won't say he was happy about it, but I don't think there's any bad blood
Listen,
about it.
all the shit you were fucking around with in his studio, that's one of the better things to have
for
broken.
sure. So yeah, I think for when the days are done, those are really what jumps out at me. Are there anything you guys think of? Or?
No, I mean, I think that it is a great start to the album. It's a song that really does represent us in a lot of ways, and I'm proud to have made it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I think we can kind of move on to another song now.
The other song that we were debating starting the album with.
Yeah, so this is the song's called Bombshell, and I don't think we really intended for it to be a start of the album song.
Unexpectedly good.
Yeah, like
This
one
was
really-
one of, so how we did it is we had the 3 that we for sure wanted to do, and then we had 3 other ones that were like, if we have time, we'll do this. And I believe this was like in those back 3.
Yeah, it was in the back 3.
Of like, okay, if we have time for it. And a big reason for that is because this song hurts my fucking arms. Justin wrote this over COVID when we were living together.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped playing it because I got slightly out of shape. But because I just couldn't play it. And I could have played a different beat, but what really makes sense is those quick 16ths on the hat, which if suits it really well. But my God, is this song a workout? And the take, I don't know if I'm skipping out of order here, but the take we ended up using was like, okay, this is the last.
Yeah.
We can only fit one more on this tape.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to spend all my energy.
Yeah.
It might have been the last thing that we recorded.
It wasn't the last thing in the session overall, but you're
Was the
absolutely,
third
you're
take.
absolutely correct. It was the last on that we had room for on the reel of tape, which is kind of a fun dynamic of like that recording process of like
the limitations that we get with by using real analog equipment.
like we're at that point and we're like, okay, like we're gonna have to probably spend like 5-10 minutes, switching the reel and rewinding it. So we got time for one more, let's give it. And it kind of just gets you in a different headspace.
Well, limitation breeds creativity, right? And like we used to say that a lot when we were a 3-piece. Now we have a bassist.
Yeah.
But like analog, you have those limitations. It's like, this is the last one? Okay, let's fucking go for it then.
Yeah, but I still remember like while we were playing it, like I'm hearing the fire in the hi-hat fill, but really the standout
toms,
was
right?
The toms in that breakdown. Oh my god, I'm sure I made a huge smiling face when
I got looks from Max and you.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, I was like, okay, just fucking go for it. Keep going fast.
Yeah.
And I listened back to it, and I'm like, I can play that fast? What?
Yeah, but it just like comes out so powerful. They sound like cannons going off like crazy. So that was really cool. With this song specifically, I think for me, one of the reasons why it was kind of in those like back three going into it was the distorted vocals. So that's something I had never recorded before. And while we were rehearsing it, I kind of figured out like, okay, I can kind of do this.
Yeah.
And initially I was kind of having a problem where I could do it at rehearsal, but whenever I tried to do it here, practicing alone, I just couldn't get there.
Right.
You have to have a lot of fucking energy going into that.
Yeah. And
It's loud.
that's actually it.
Part of life.
I figured out the trick. I can now do it on my own. And it's really like I just have to scream and like really like put myself in a headspace of like feeling that energy and just giving it everything. And that's what it takes. But luckily I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get there when we were recording. And luckily we did. And I think it sounds really cool. And it's something that I've had fun exploring as a vocal technique.
Well, I remember when we were recording it, because you overdubbed vocals for this, and it was just me and you there. And looking at you record it, and you looked angry. You're like pissed off, screaming into this microphone, and it sounds amazing. I'm like, hell yeah, keep that anger. Like, I think I said to Dave while you were recording, I was like, okay, for next take, what can I say to piss him off? Like, I need to keep this going.
I wasn't there to help you.
You could have talked about how you didn't want to pour a Guinness into a Stein.
Don't bring it up. Well, now I look like a poser, thanks to you.
But that was a really cool, thing with this. And, really overall, I remember getting the raw tracks back from the sessions, even before we recorded overdubs. And just like, that was, I think, one of my like instant favorites on the album.
Yeah.
Just because of like the energy going into it. And it was like really in your face, super high energy.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh yeah, I was indifferent to it when we were rehearsing it because part of it was just because I didn't really know what to do. Like it's a punkish garage song, high energy. But
can we just take a second to talk about Max's part on this?
Well, I was getting there.
Yeah, I think he was going to.
So, but yeah, I was indifferent to it. And then when we recorded in the studio, that's where it really came alive for me. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know what to do for the keyboard part because it's not a song related to it. Expect keyboards on it. So I just thought, it's more like garage rock or like punk. Like, what can I do? So I took the Nord and have this Farfisa sound on it, like an old transistor organ, and just cranked the distortion on it. And then just did power chords again, like a guitar player, and just came up with this this rhythm figure that we.
Before you say what it is, I want to say our perspective of how we figured this out. Was this in practice or in the studio?
It was in practice, I remember. And we did a couple practices right before going into the studio.
And we look... one of us looks over, and Max is mouthing something as he's playing this. And his timing is great on it. We're like, oh, this sounds great. And we stop, and we're like, Max, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's how I remember the melody or the rhythm. Wake up, bitch, wake up, and just like doesn't like for a second phase him that this is a weird thing to do. And so now whenever you refer to that part, it's the wake up bitch part.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how I remember the rhythmic figure. It's just
Yeah.
And it sounds
It
like
works.
an alarm. Like it works great.
Yeah, and I think that was like a really great way to like, you really thought about where it fits in the song, because I think, like you touched upon, that style of music typically doesn't really have a ton of keyboards in. So
No.
you definitely had a challenge ahead of you of like, okay, what kind of part am I going to do that's gonna work? And like, oftentimes when I'm like bringing songs to it, I have like an idea of like what to suggest to you guys, like what kind of thing I'm hearing. In this case, I didn't. I had no idea, so it was fully up to you.
yeah. But it's fun because then having keyboard on a song like allow us to, especially when you're solo, right, to fill in the void because you're doing you overdub some guitars after, but like we could harmonize with your solo, like especially the line at the end, where it's just a rising line, and then we're able to harmonize. So myself and the bass, and it's a great effect that we can bring having keyboards on on that song. So
He's justifying why.
exactly.
he's doing
Yeah.
it.
Max, you're in the band.
Job security, Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited about this song.
Oh yeah, that's a single.
Like
probably.
I still kind of go back and forth. I think when the days are done, being a better representation of us justifies it being first.
Yeah.
The energy of this one was the only reason I ever thought.
Yeah.
But when we talked about maybe putting this first, we're like, this is too metal. Like people are gonna listen to this and be like, oh, this is like a metal-ish record, and then like if they're not into metal, maybe not listen to the rest.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Like I think I'm really happy that we got to like explore those genres of music and really push it. But like you said, it's not super representative of us as a whole.
No,
it's kind of
it's
an
a fun
extreme.
sidetrack. Yeah,
exactly.
it's a little excursion.
Well, we played a show very recently, and the band member of another band was talking to us after our set, and he didn't speak English very well. But what he said to, I think, me and you, was you guys have a lot of sounds. And, like, I immediately knew what he was saying. It's like...
We have range. Yeah.
We not that, like, oh, we have a lot of range, but, like,
I
we
meant it like
write
that.
in so many different styles.
Yeah.
And, like, we're going to have a rude awakening if we make, like, a true... album and we're like, okay, this is gonna be like a concept album or something. It's like, how do we fit these songs together? We write like
it's still rock.
psychopaths.
It's all rock and roll though.
I love it, to be honest. Like
It's a different flavor. But it's all rock.
Varitones, I know we're named after the Switch, but like a variety of tones, boys.
Yeah, it's definitely a suitable name for sure. For
100%.
like, our musical endeavors. So yeah, and even within this song, I think that there's kind of a cool thing, especially that got drawn out by the backing vocals, of like it is on its face like a pretty like aggressive, grungy punk kind of song, but there's a little bit of like a surf rock kind of undertone to it.
You have a little bit of Dick Dale-ness to it, you know?
Exactly. So that's kind of fun, and I love mixing different things that like in theory shouldn't go together but do, and then you kind of get something cool. So
yeah, and we have those
Exactly,
trying to do that surf rock kind of on top of it, and I think it turned out really cool.
yeah, I think it was just a nice way to sort of draw out that texture a little bit.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
was cool. All right, so I think we can move on to the next song. So next one is Shapeshifter.
Yeah, that was the oldest song of the songs we recorded.
Yeah.
Shapeshifter and Tear It Apart we wrote around the same time.
Yeah, okay, fair. But the song is what, 5 years old or something, at least.
This
it's
would have
gotta be
been
something.
after
'Cause
we recorded Heavy Bones.
It's when we were still in uni, right?
So yeah, I think it was before that, because I remember.
No, we weren't playing before
Yeah.
uni.
Well, no, before the Heavy Bones. Sorry, it was definitely while we were in university.
Yeah.
I remember playing the riff, the boom, bam, 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 bam,
Yeah.
a little bit hanging out with the last drummer before he had to leave the band. So I think
So it's an older riff.
yeah, I think we were kind of in the process of putting it together right when you joined. I think it was like pretty early on that we were like writing it, or like putting it together. You know?
Okay, yeah.
We
I
didn't
don't
have it.
remember touching this
Yeah.
until like, because the first time we played it live would have been the Rebel radio Battle of the Bands thing.
Yeah, you might be right on that. I don't remember exactly.
That's the first time we played it live.
We should keep our
That
set list.
and Tear It Apart
Yeah.
was the first time that we played those live.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out really cool, and this is a song that like I feel evolved even throughout this recording.
Oh,
process,
absolutely. We
right?
discovered things about the song we didn't know about, like the what we did with the backing vocals, like especially the gang vocals during the main riff. Just the texture we were able to, the texture we were able to bring with the backing vocals during
like that
during the B flat and the B.
In all the times that we've played it, we never thought to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that, through doing it now, we've like elevated it even further than what we thought. And it's always kind of interesting, like you play something for years and you never think of doing it any differently, and then you just come up with something based off necessity, right?
It was only once we like kind of got most of it done that we were like, okay, let's think about backing vocals. And then Max, our boy here, he went a little crazy, and we had to reel him in a little bit. But you wanted like 5-part harmonies,
I
like
want a whole choir.
yeah.
Yeah, whole opera section in the middle.
One day we'll give you the spiritual choir song that you so desire.
I'll have my Bohemian Rhapsody one day.
Yeah.
But I still remember like we before recording backing vocals, so we had recorded all the instruments, lead vocals, and then we kind of decided we want to do backing vocals.
Yeah.
So we took some time, we booked a rehearsal space, and we were just in there with like an audio interface, a couple mics, laptop, and we were trying to figure it out. And we'd come up with like those longer lines, like
Yeah.
and then during the riff, I think I remember hearing you just go "Who," and we're like, wait.
Yeah.
Whoa. And then, we sort of
It's a work song.
worked on that idea.
That time that we met
Great
up.
for rowing,
Yeah. The time that we met up to figure out those backing vocals in Montreal was maybe one of the first times that I heard a proper mix of one of our songs.
Yeah.
I listened back to it, and we all kind of were sitting there listening like, okay, what do we hear for backup vocals and stuff? I just had like a zoom out moment of like really hearing the song for the first time. Like, you don't see the forest from the trees. Like I saw the forest and I started to tear up a bit. I was like, oh my God, we wrote an album. Like this is so fucking cool. And I'm so proud of us. Anyways, that was just a nice moment.
Yeah. No, that was a really cool one. And I'm glad we got like really good ideas out of it.
Yeah.
Just, a big waste of time.
Oh, we think they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll find out.
The listeners might be like, oh my God, they're out to lunch. But
Yeah. People will let us know.
yeah, probably these days. Another
If
thing
they listen to it.
Yeah.
At that point, let's just be happy that people are listening to it, I guess.
Exactly.
There's no bad publicity.
Yeah. Another thing I think is really cool with this one is like this is our first time doing like a proper noise section, right? Of like,
Yeah.
It's not like we're not at this point like playing intentional notes and stuff. We're just making sound. And
This is quite fun to do on the organ because it's just like swirling around the keys and
I get to like make it try and emulate like bombs dropping and like thunder in the distance and shit.
Yeah.
And one thing I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but when we did our live at Baba House thing, we had Parms, the drummer of Civilian, doing our audio for that.
Yeah.
And he asked us afterwards, like, how do you guys like plan that out? Because he's a great drummer, but they're one of those guys like clicks going, they have everything planned and stuff. Very antithesis to us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like they play a lot more like of a structured style where we kind of go for more like a free form.
Yeah,
right?
and don't get me wrong, Civilian's amazing. I love those guys.
Definitely.
But he's just like, how do you plan that out? And I was like, we don't. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's doing something cool, we'll keep it going.
Yeah, we just kind of react.
If someone's not, I will go to that floor tom so goddamn quick.
I mean, there's still like a lifeline there. Like I'm holding like a E minor chord at the top of the organ. Like there's still a little bit of, there's still a lifeline, but how it develops, that's different every time.
Yeah, and because it's noise, we can just say that wasn't bad. It's supposed to be
just
noise,
wish we
idiot.
had a theremin to do like in a Whole Lotta Love, you know.
Yeah, but I think that was a big a factor for which take we chose.
Yeah,
was that noise section?
Yeah, exactly. Like because of how inconsistent or varied the performances are, depending on how you want to look at it. I wasn't sure what it was going to be like to actually get this on recording. But luckily, I think we got something really cool, and it worked out really well. We all had a lot of fun. A lot of the drum stuff you're doing is really cool. Obviously, you're having a blast on that Hammond organ.
Yes.
And, I got my delay pedal self-oscillating and have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool part of it, and that's something we've never done before.
Yeah, and it's great that it's like in the middle of the album as well, because you have like the bridge and this noise bridge in the middle of the song, but also in the middle of the album. Kind of, it's a nice place.
I think
it's like trust us, come with us on this trip.
And I always think and we tend to put these songs close to each other in the set, but I think it pairs so nicely with Tear It Apart.
Yeah.
In that we do have that section in the middle of each song where the song just takes a turn.
Yeah.
And both of them go very different directions. And I think they contradict and work well together.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's exciting to record that, and us being like rock fans, there's a lot of like great, songs throughout rock history that had this kind of thing going. So it was fun to kind of,
So it's our little dazed and confused moment. You know?
Exactly. Like pay homage to some of the music we really love.
Early Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But that's
a big one.
Yeah. But that's the one where you had a different guitar, right? For that one, like you play, was it the not a baritone guitar?
But it was a bass 6.
A bass 6, right?
That was really fun. So going into recording,
remind me what it is.
So what it is
thank you for asking that. I was too scared to ask.
Yeah,
I'm a keyboards guy.
It is all the 6 strings of a guitar down an octave. So typically a bass guitar, it's the 4 lowest on a guitar down an octave, but on top of that, you're using like different kinds of strings, so they're not as thick as a bass string. So,
but it's like the low E on the bass 6 is the same octave as
the
bass?
low E on a bass. Exactly.
Okay.
So it's the biggest difference between the bass 6 and the bass beyond the 2 extra strings is the thinner strings, and then you have more of like guitar hardware. So the pickups are basically guitar pickups. So what you end up with is sort of this like weird kind of bastard child between a guitar and a bass.
Just a muddier guitar.
Yeah, but
but it's clean. It's not as muddy as a bass.
True.
Yeah, so
you could
cuts
say
through.
Now let me be the first to say you get this kind of bastardized child of a bass and a guitar.
That's good. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I know I'm touching you a lot
it's a
today.
great way
It's
to
just
put it.
kind of like.
But I had a lot of fun using that on the recording. Like live before we recorded, what I would typically do is I have an octave pedal that dials in a little bit of like the octave below what I'm playing, and kind of thought, okay, how do I replicate that sound but use some of the tools available to me in the studio? And knowing I had a bass 6 became pretty clear. The thing that's really exciting about it is it's a completely different texture than just like, a guitar pitched down, right?
Yeah.
Like, it growls.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like I remember hearing that on the raw tracks for the first time and just like hearing the wall of sound, because that was the first time I really heard what I had tracked on it, and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God, this just makes this huge sounding riff even more huge.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. All right, so the next song is a exciting one. So Tear It Apart.
Yeah.
So I think really when I think about this song, I just think about like how good the feel of it is in terms of like we got a good swing.
As long as Max and our bassist look at me
Yeah.
during that beginning, because whenever we play this, there's a part we do this big noise at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I have to count in, and I don't want to do that out loud because I need to be making noise still, like hitting cymbals. And the amount of times I have to like Next.
Call us.
Look at me. You have a cue because we have to start at the same
Yeah,
time.
but like I'm not facing you like on stage.
I turn.
But then my back hurts.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, luckily we were able to capture a take where everybody looked at Taylor.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a small window in the studio where I could see Taylor through. Because I'm in a different room and he's in a different room as well.
Yeah,
so.
and room between you guys.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well, so.
There's the console there. So, but luckily it was like a small window where I could actually see you.
Well, that was a nice thing, right? Like if we were separated and couldn't see each other, we probably wouldn't have been able to get nice live, off the floor. A lot of us playing together is reading each other's movements.
Yeah,
like
visual cues for sure. Yeah, and I think really with this, like, it is the most like live off the floor sounding track on the album, in my opinion.
I think so, and I think it has to be.
Yeah, I think this one would be really difficult to record it any other way. So that's really fun. And yeah, like you mentioned when we were talking about the previous song, is like, it is really a song where there's a part in the middle and it takes you someplace else than when
Preacher
where the rest
Justin.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a mix of like The Doors and Foreplay by Boston. It's it's pretty different, but it's pretty fun.
Again, when me and you went to go for you to record vocals, this is one of those things.
Oh yeah, that vocal
you
performance
had
is great.
workshopped this breakdown section a lot.
Yeah.
And it turned out awesome. Like, you kind of start low with this low kind of calm voice, and then as you start addressing these points of fucked up shit going on, you get angrier and angrier, culminating in a great back to the main riff.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, what was really kind of cool is in working the distorted vocals for Bombshell, we had the Baba House performance where that was the first time I'd ever tried really like applying that to this section of the song. And then I thought it was really cool. Like I remember when we did the live off the floor for Tear It Apart, we had a scratch vocal mic recording, and one of the notes was like, consider using this performance, which like in the end I still think it was pretty good. Yeah. But I think really going in and being able to like fully commit to like the distortion and building the momentum as it goes was the right call. And I'm very proud of how it sounds. I think it's really cool.
I think the last mixing notes I sent you for this song were, Justin, this is one of the best
just positives
vocal performances you've ever had.
I remember reading this like, this doesn't fucking help me right now.
Fair.
Yeah. But there's that, and then I remember going into it I heard a guitar sound in my head that I really wanted to. So and you guys obviously saw me do it. So it's based off of the guitar sound that Jimmy Page got on Black Dog by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And
do you like Jimmy Page by any chance?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a fan. But it's different from a typical guitar sound because it's not an amp. It is, you're going direct into the recording console and then into two compressors in series, and one of them is cranked. And this happened right after I blew up Dave's amp.
I remember the look on his face when you proposed this.
I know.
And I think his response is, I'm going to be really mad if you blow up one of my compressors.
Yeah, like obviously, the amp that we were using, it's,
it's all the time.
It's an amount of money for sure. But, new tubes, $100, $200.
Yeah.
One of these 1176 compressors, now we're talking couple $1,000.
We're talking about you not having kneecaps.
Yeah. So I was definitely worried, but the video I saw that was breaking down how to get this was by the manufacturer of the unit. So I was pretty confident that like, okay, we can do this. It'll be fine. But I still remember he had his hand on the knob, and I was like, I need more level, and just like the reluctance in turning it.
Shout out to Dave for being such a trooper with us.
Exactly. He would have been pretty justified, especially given the context, to be like, no, stop, go away. but he did let us do it, and it sounds
sounded amazing.
really cool blended in with another guitar track that is just a guitar through an amp.
Because it is kind of a thin sound to it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's very different in the sense of like it's super like fuzzy, aggressive, and the attack is completely different. Of like it hits you right away and then sags a lot.
Yeah.
So it's really unlike anything else, but you get it cuts through the mix just how you want it, sits where you want it. So I knew it was going to be right for the song. So that was really fun to be able to try that and have it work out and not cost me my kneecaps.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it sounds amazing in there. And it's not something that like immediately jumps out as like not part of the other guitar sound.
Yeah.
But like it once you hear it mixed in there, it just adds this really cool element.
Yeah.
Also, you're a psycho with guitar tracking. Like the amount of time you take to track guitars is mainly just you laying down multiple tracks.
Yeah.
Like you finish a tracking, you do one take, you're like, okay, that was good. Maybe let's get one more just because, and then we just use the first one anyways.
Yeah, you never know, so
Yeah.
it's good to do a backup. But yeah, I know the songs very well, having like written them originally, and then we bring them to the band. But yeah, that was
were we not giving you enough credit?
Yeah. But it was good that that went smooth. Another thing I thought that was really fun when I was thinking back on this song was
the tape echo.
yeah. So I was overdubbing a guitar solo, and sitting on Dave's desk at Low Bullhorn is a tape delay machine, and I asked him, hey, can I use this on this? And he goes, yeah, sure. So I'm recording the guitar solo, sounds great. And in the song, the guitar solo happens right before
we go to the bridge,
the breakdown.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of this freak out thing. So I remember doing a take, and Dave just goes like, hit a note.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I hit a note.
You hit a right
And
note.
he jumps over to it.
He jumps over to the machine and starts like fiddling with the knobs to send it into self oscillation.
Yeah.
And it's going off, and that's the sound you'll hear, and it's a super cool sound. But I still remember like we record that, and then we're like, all right, that's awesome. And then I'm like, I need to do another take of the solo, so we needed to reset it.
Yeah, reset all the echo.
Luckily, like a vintage tape machine like that, it's 3 knobs, so it wasn't too hard to get
And
the
he
sound
knows
back.
his stuff.
Exactly. But I still remember his face on it, like, oh my god. And he kind of goes like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, I am not mad at all. That was great.
Yeah.
And it was cool to have like him care enough about the song to like want to participate in it. Really.
I had an idea, and
Yeah.
that's part of the magic that happens when we record like we did.
Exactly. Yeah. It gives opportunity for like spur of the moment things to happen. So
Kind of like also like the interplay we have, like the organ with your preaching in the middle of the song, right? Where I kind of react to what you're saying, and then so that part is pretty much all improvised.
I was really nervous actually with your organ part.
Yeah,
when we were
'cause
going to record that.
Yeah.
I thought for sure you were going to put the riff in there.
the lick.
The lick. That's
It was
it.
either that or
Parts with
Luigi's
multiple-
Mansion that I might have quoted. I did.
I was waiting for it. I'm sitting there, and you're like doing these little kind
Yeah,
of
he's
interspersed
dancing.
parts between his vocals and stuff. I'm like, don't you fucking dare, Max.
Don't use the lick.
Yeah. Well, I think what's cool about it is like we pull back, right? And it's very reactionary, right? Like I'm saying something, you're reacting to what I'm saying on your keyboard, and you're reacting on the drums, and then like I'm reacting to what you're doing. I'm changing
We're all
my
building energy
enunciation
together,
based off the drum hits and stuff. So it is one of those parts where like the feel really comes through.
Like I will do certain drum fills based on the rhythm of your sentences to emphasize different points, especially the I have no love for the senator who bans Social Security or who
Ban Social Security or cut Social Security just to play the military.
like who defunds education just to ban abortion.
Yeah.
That I fucking emphasize as much as I can, but like when you're doing your little riff moments, I change what I'm playing depending on what you throw in there, right? Like it is such a reactionary part that I'm glad we captured the essence of.
Exactly, yeah. So going into it, it felt like, okay, this might be a challenge, and I don't know how we'll do it, but luckily it all worked out.
Yeah.
Both this and Shapeshifter, especially too, this is not a short song.
No, it's very long, yeah.
Like... I mean, we always meme like, oh, 4-minute song. That's a short Varitones song, you know? Like, what is this one?
Over 7 minutes.
Over 7 minutes long. Like, it's not going to be on the radio anytime soon, that's for sure.
Probably not,
for a couple of reasons, but let's just pretend it's because it's long.
Maybe like the first half, like the right before
we'll
the
have
bridge.
A radio edit.
It ends with the solo.
Where it's just the breakdown, and then that's it.
I have no love.
Welcome to 99.5.
Yeah, but no, I think that's going to be an exciting part of the record. It is, again, it's very different than a lot of the other songs too.
No backing vocals on that one.
Yeah, that
I
was
just didn't feel like it needed any. Like there wasn't anything we could add to it. I
think we were just annoyed with Max at that part. We're like, no, don't,
never.
don't,
No, that doesn't
add more to this, Max.
Also, it's because you're not quite on pitch, so it's hard to
Hey.
harmonize.
Okay.
Whoa!
You're sitting on the blue note, you know.
Help me. But yeah, so that's great. Next song is Caveman.
Yeah.
So, just another
Caveman for
right.
the full title.
That one is quite different from what we're used to.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we could literally say this song is different than the others for every single song.
Yeah,
on
that's
here.
true.
And I think
but
we
this one is
actually have.
This one is at like 80 BPM, so it's quite different.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't.
Just slower
I don't scream in it.
Yeah, don't scream in it.
And I think we ended up recording this faster than we intended to. Also.
Yeah, quite a bit, but it still works. It kind of gives like a little bit of like a. I think of Radiohead a little bit, even though that wasn't necessarily the intention.
Had a bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers as well, for like especially the drums you're playing on that part, like
and like your piano part has some
Coldplay
has some Chris Isaac to it, you know.
Yeah, a bit more basically for that one actually play the piano, right, and not an electric keyboard
the big grand.
And
piano.
I'm actually
and
playing this song very Chad Smith, like Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of thing.
That was
like,
my point.
Yeah. Well,
did you say that?
Yes.
Oops, I'm listening. I have active listening skills.
Well, I think the interesting thing with this one is for us, it was the least developed one going into it. Like a lot of the other songs, like, you know, Shapeshifter, Tear It Apart, we've been playing for a long time. And the other ones we've been playing recently, that one at that point, we hadn't played live at all.
2 practices leading up to
Oh yeah, I
recording?
forgot my piano part like right before the take.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to do some organ, right?
Yeah.
The organ, I knew especially like on the F sharp minor 7, that's there, but like the actual piano Coldplay-esque part.
You only had 1 practice with it because it was me, you, and Gray and our bassist for the first practice, and then the second one was
with him,
all 4 of us.
Yeah,
and like you had 1 practice with it, and we were like, I think we had it maybe 6.
Yeah.
Of our songs were like, if we get to it, we get to it.
Yeah, it was definitely like last on the list, but we ended up having enough time to do it, so we did. And I think it was kind of cool because we didn't really have as much of a plan, so we kind of got, you know, it sort of just turned out how it turned out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff with that come out that are pretty cool.
There's a downside. Immediately after we recorded, Max comes up with this great turnaround in the solo, and we're like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
we can't go re-record that.
Yeah.
I had made my peace with that, and now that you brought it up, I'm still bitter that I just didn't think of that natural F.
Oh, I think Justin said, like, this is going to have to be one of those songs that comes alive when we play it live.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a shame, but that, you know, that's kind of...
We could, we could pitch correct it, but no, we don't do that. So
none of that.
None of us are Michael Jackson.
Yeah. I think another thing really is, like, you know, we've talked about, like, it's really not a type of song you'd expect from us it's a lot softer than anything we've done, and I kind of contrast it to
2 guitar solos, but
yeah, there are 2 guitar solos. I did have fun.
We are still the Varitones.
Yeah, but that was
still a Justin song.
that was a fun one. Yeah. So while we mentioned the guitar solos, I did think about back to doing that because it was so kind of raw going in. I hadn't fully written out the solos that I want to do, and like on all the other 5 songs, I did. I knew exactly. Okay, I want to play that, and that's what makes it so I can go track 1, track 2, the other.
Yeah.
Get 1 for safety, and we're done. But for this one, I kind of tried to improvise the solo as in the studio. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. Just wasn't like up to my what I want in terms of quality for a solo. So I remember kind of taking the track with me back home and like writing out the 2 solos and then going back and overdubbing, and that's what you're hearing on the
much
track.
better.
Yeah. This is one of those situations where it was a definite improvement. Like I love the idea of like improvising and like sometimes you get stuff you wouldn't expect. But I mean, even realistically, like I think we did 4 or 5 takes of that song as a whole, and really what I was doing as we were recording those solos while we were tracking the songs,
you were writing.
I was writing. I was building on it. In the first take, maybe there was 10% that I liked.
Yeah.
But I'll take that 10%, bring it over the second take, and then now there's 20%. And
You're playing Wordle with your solos.
yeah, exactly. Just building on it, and then I come home, and funny enough, that's actually how I write solos: is just improvise them until I start repeating myself.
Yeah.
And then there you go. So there was that. I also remember guitar-wise a kind of cool thing. So I didn't know quite what parts I wanted to overdub as much, but I remember sitting down for an editing session with Dave, and we were kind of listening, and I kind of just said like, yeah, I'd like to see if can we like boost the volume on the guitar or something just to try to get it to stand out more. And he just says, wait a second, let me do this. And he brings the guitar from another take and just adds it to that take we were using. And I was kind of surprised because we recorded all of them without a metronome, and I was kind of like, is that going to work? And he was like, you guys were pretty good. It should be fine.
It was such an ego boost for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
As a drummer who doesn't like play and record, like I practice to a metronome, but record to a metronome and being like, oh no, we can actually just copy and paste this over. I'm like, oh my God, I'm better than I thought.
Yeah, consistency. Here we go. But it's kind of a cool thing because for the sound that I got, it was on a clean channel in my amp, but using a tremolo pedal.
Yeah.
But you have these 2 guitar performances, and the tremolos aren't synced up. So you get kind of this like weird seasick feeling, but I think it sounds pretty cool, and within the stereo spectrum, it kind of fits without being too jarring. But
it fits super nicely.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool part of that for sure. So.
It's also the song where we had more fun playing with the backing vocals.
Yeah, we kind of
at least writing them out, singing them.
This is a big fuck you to Max, and we recorded this. I almost passed out.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
trying to record the backing vocals that you wrote for me. Like I'm singing up here, and like I'm not going to attempt to do the backing vocals right now, but they are very high, and the end point, like I had practiced at home, kind of like sitting down, but trying to get volume and hit those notes consistently. At the end, where I'm doing the line like 4 times over, I stopped the first time we did it. On the 3rd time, and my knees buckled a bit, and I started to like almost pass out. I'm like, God damn, Max, why did you write these? They sound good.
They do.
That's why he wrote them.
I mean, I struggle a lot to record mine as well because I'm not a singer, quite far from that. And being on pitch is hard.
But it's tough, fellas.
I recorded them first to get them out of the way, and then like after that, my voice was like kind of fucked up a bit. I'm like, oh no, we did this backwards.
No, definitely. I remember in that session later on realizing like we probably shouldn't have started with those. But yeah, it is kind of a cool thing. Again, it's a backing vocal part that I feel like really adds to it, and like it's something that you seem to have heard like right away when we started the process. So so that was cool.
Yeah, just this kind of echo in the background.
Yeah. So I like the way that they kind of come in and like give some movement to the verses, and then obviously the parts right before the like choruses where it goes to the different chord. That part.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to put that together.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I really enjoyed like making the demos for that.
Yeah.
So and then recording them in the studio. But like I said, this is where my ego took a hit from. I think I have a pretty good ear, but I don't have a good voice at all. So it's.
I mean, it worked out. Obviously, like sometimes
with numerous takes.
Yeah, but that's pretty normal.
At the end, still no pitch correction. So you can be proud of that.
We got there in the end, and I think like the way your guys' voices mesh together. It's pretty cool, and again, something different.
Something we need to explore more.
Yeah.
We need to do more backing vocals.
We're about to kiss.
Meshing our voices. Okay, we're done. Next song.
Let's move on, please. Yeah. So the next song is "Searching for Gold." So likely going to be the last song on the album.
Yeah.
For me, this was, I think, the song I was aiming to record the most.
And the one that I was second most worried about, other than like Bombshell, actually like, oh my god, this is gonna be tough to play. I was like, if we need to nail this song, and I was worried about that. Not only that, we switched up what the intro was right before recording this.
Yeah,
where we were like, okay, actually, Max, I think you did it because maybe our bassist wasn't there one day. And you did it, and we were like, okay, actually, that sounds really good.
Yeah, just the pedal on the Wurlitzer.
It sounded great when you did it, and so we completely changed what that intro was, and had you just...
And how the bass only joined a bit later, like after the first minute and a half or something.
Yeah, and like, it's a tight swing that needs to be a certain way, right? And I think it turned out great, but that was one that I'm like, the swing needs to be there. We have these big hits that need to be there that I fucked up the first take we took, because I was like too anxious. I was speeding up during them, and Dave was like, okay, everyone watch Taylor and just see when he hits, he's going to hit, and just do that. And that kind of calmed me down a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, it was one of the ones I was most worried about.
Yeah, well, in the end, like it actually like ended up being pretty much the most like daunting one to record, right?
Yeah.
Because the dynamic range,
really
especially,
small.
it starts low and quiet, and it ends high, loud, and fast, right?
Yeah.
So it really like spans the full spectrum. So even just thinking like, okay, how we're going to do this and how we're going to mix all of this was, tough. And that was the one we spent the most time mixing. A lot of the overdubs took a while, but, I think it was really cool. Like I remember we did a show before going into recording where we played the song, and having a lot of people like come up and be like, oh my God, I really like that song. Like that was really cool. It's different for you guys. And, at that point, that's when it really clicked in. Like, oh, it's been like 4 years since we've recorded anything.
Yeah.
Like we've been writing different kinds of songs than we had been. And, like it kind of felt like, okay, we've maybe leveled up a little bit.
And like, I think a big thing too is the songs that we have recorded at that point and that at this current moment are out on Spotify are kind of all very similar.
Yeah.
Like they have different things to them and stuff, but they're all very like kind of high energy rock.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to us, like to me, Searching for Gold isn't weird for us.
Yeah.
Because we know that we always kind of write in different directions. And just like, doesn't matter if it doesn't sound like something we've done. If it sounds good, that's what matters.
Yeah, for sure.
And people who've just heard us on Spotify and then come and see us, it's like, whoa.
Not what I thought.
Not what I expected.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Another thing I think of, obviously, like there's a lot of keyboards on this one. And, you know, luckily we're in an environment where, you know, at Little Bullhorn, there's a ton of like, you know, vintage analog keys. So we knew Max was going to be like a kid in a candy store in there.
And you were.
Yeah, I was. But that's something actually really interesting because when we were rehearsing that, we were playing shows.
Yeah.
I used the Wurlitzer patch on my Nord, and the Nord, it's a 73 keys.
Yeah.
So the intro goes like in a pedal on like an A, like a swung A like that, and then it goes down to a G, and then up to a D. But on the Wurlitzer, on the actual thing, the lowest note is an A, so I can't go down to a G.
Yeah.
So I had to like change the way I was playing, so like doing this kind of weird jump, which it was kind of fun. It's harder to play.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was kind of limited by the instrument that I was using, and then I changed the way I played it on the Nord for show, etc., to reflect how it's actually, you know, how it would be played on the real instrument.
Yeah.
So it's one of those instances where having the real thing, the real vintage instrument, that kind of, the limitation that kind of brought a new way of playing, or a different way of playing rather.
Yeah,
it was really, really fun.
It forced you to kind of think creatively, and I think it's kind of a cool thing to, like, you know, really adapt to the tool that you're using at the time.
And that's until the Wurlitzer crapped out.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, because I think it was...
How many things did we break?
Two.
Okay.
just two.
Well, no, we didn't break the Wurlitzer, to be clear. It's just like one of the A's was flat. Was flat. So we were tuning it up. So it was just with a file, right? Filing on the reed, and I think some of the dust got into some of the pickups.
Yeah.
And it just
Started
made this
crackling,
horrible like crackling.
You'd be halfway through a take, this like nice
Yeah.
melodic thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I halfway through it changes to a Rhodes.
Yeah. Well, I remember being with Dave and we were doing the like editing session, and then I think you would.
And the Rhodes track was just better for.
Yeah,
part
I think
of it.
because I think the Rhodes track was. I think we did a couple on the Wurlitzer, and then the Wurlitzer started crapping out. So then we said, okay, let's just do some Rhodes stuff just to get the feel down. If we really want the Wurlitzer, we can overdub it.
Yeah.
And the performance, like, locked in with everybody on the Rhodes, was really good. And the way we kind of did it is it switches to the Rhodes when more of the band comes in, so that at that point the keyboard is playing a little bit less of a prominent role.
No, exactly, and it's harder to tell that it's a Rhodes instead of a Wurlitzer at that point. Like at the beginning, sure, I can recognize it, no problem. But later on in the song, when it's more busy around it, but it's harder to distinguish between the two. And it works fine. And then I jump to the Leslie,
Exactly.
to the B3 rather.
Yeah, the Hammond organ, and when that comes in, it's just
it just
glorious. Yeah,
it adds a new color to the whole song. It's great.
And I think it really kind of like foretells, like, okay, it's gonna get crazy now because that's really where it starts. The song takes a turn. And
I mean, to me, this is classic Varitones. You know, don't worry, this is gonna be a soft song.
Nope.
And then if you skip forward 2 minutes in the song, I'm doing 6/8 now.
Yeah.
And you're doing dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
like this doom and gloom. Look around, what do you see? You know, like
this big like descending chromatic riff, and then, you know, even from there, it kind of sounds like Black Sabbath-y in a way, and then, at least guitar wise, and then from there it just like, okay.
Then I bring the John Lord.
Yeah, and then it gets
Deep
even
Purple.
crazier after.
And then we do a synced up rhythm as the entire band. We recently brought in a new bassist.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how many like synced up rhythms we like to do as a band until we're bringing him into it. And it's like, oh crap, I forgot. Okay, let's practice this rhythm together, you know, like.
Yeah, it was easier when I was doing the bass with my left hand for that.
But I think it's a really cool like locked in band part, and
it's fun.
It works great as like a transition between the parts before it and after.
Definitely.
So that's cool. And then obviously at the end, like singing that vocal line was so tough because
it's up there.
it's high, and for a song that starts like, and so it seems.
Yeah, because that's, I think, like range wise, it's one of the songs that for you, I think you cover the most range.
Oh,
right?
definitely, yeah.
It's pretty low A, and then it goes up to probably a high A.
Yeah, it does. I think the last note is a high A.
Yeah. So at least 2 octaves. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an exciting song. It's really like us diving into the idea of like progressing throughout a song. So.
Yeah.
Well, dynamic progression, like even just on the drums there, I always I've shown you a few bands that you're like, I don't know about. But the thing that I liked about the songs that I showed you is like, listen to the dynamic progression of this song. One of them is Camera by Young the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
Where it starts off in one direction, it slowly builds and changes to a completely different song.
Mm-hmm.
When the song starts, I'm not playing. Then I go to a snare kind of marching thing, and then I'm adding in the hi-hats a little bit. Those big hits, okay, now we're playing a little bit more loose and open. Yeah. Big hits again. Big main riff still. Now I'm doing the 6/8 part. Yeah. Now we all do that synced up rhythm back on the snare, bring it back in for this huge ending. Like I think that is a great song for dynamic progression for us.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, I think we've covered a little bit of all the songs. I think just to kind of close off this, I want to ask you guys, like, if you had to pick like one moment on the album as your favorite, I think I know what it is for both of you.
Yeah, I think it might be the same for us. It might, for me at least. Yeah. It's the most like locked in I've ever felt with you, which is the keyboard solo in Fallen. After the big kind of halftime metal part, we pull back, and it's just really me and you.
That's when I am doing my scale, right? When I go up like in the 16th note.
Yeah, but like just that whole section there is like so great to me. It was kind of just me and you, I feel like, at our peak together.
It's nice to feel that way, because my favorite part is completely different.
Okay, fuck me, never mind. It's actually my singing parts.
No, well, I really enjoy like, well, the middle section of Tear It Apart, like the bridge, the breakdown where it's kind of like a little bit like Boston, but like with Jim Morrison on top. Like I really like that part. But I think like the end of your solo in Bombshell when we harmonize. I really like that moment. Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot, but just I think it adds a lot to your solo. Instead of you just soloing over like a chord, like a one chord loop. Yeah. It adds a bit more. It shows like the song and the solo was more composed rather than just jammed.
Exactly.
Which is something that I think we want to bring to our music, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of our song will start as jams, sure, and we will get a lot of our ideas from jams, but then it's important to like step back and then, okay, we have that now, how can we make it, how can we elevate it? And that's one of the things I think that really elevates the
I think we've done a good job like putting intention behind the parts and stuff, and I think it's a good thing of like keeps things from feeling too monotonous, of like it it moves around. There's if you pay attention, there's always something you can kind of listen to that's new.
What's your favorite?
It's tough for me to choose. There's a lot of stuff on it that like little parts that I like. I think what I keep coming back to is like those big hits in Searching for Gold. Where it just like goes.
It's exhilarating.
Yeah. It goes from like, kind of this more like melodic laid back thing to just like
your bent G chord that you do.
I love
this sound.
It's my favorite chord ever, just like bending the root on the G power chord. But it like, I don't know. It just sounds to me like so colorful when it comes in. Right? It's like, it feels like you're going from like black and white to color TV almost. So I think
that's how I feel when the organ part comes in.
Yeah, that too, right? That's going from color to 4K or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's my pick, and just knowing everything that went into it, of like, okay, it was a challenge to like get that dynamic range, and me personally, for that I got to like run my Les Paul through a high watt stack. So
you must have felt like God.
It's a pretty powerful feeling of just like hitting this huge chord.
Did you windmill?
I don't think I full windmilled, because usually I end up missing
Never
strings.
Full windmill.
Never full windmill. But you
save that for Christmas and Easter.
I do remember while we were tracking it, kind of like rocking out a bit during that part. So that was fun.
Yeah.
No, nice. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, me too.
Regardless of how this album does or if people enjoy it, I am.
Oh, it's gonna make me a cool uncle, you know.
Yeah.
I am
Exactly.
just proud that we did this thing together.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we made music that we like at least.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Fuck
It's
everyone
a,
else.
It's just a shame that all the times I've listened to it, like, for mixing stuff doesn't count for Spotify
Yeah,
stats because
Damn, we could have made a whole
analytics.
3 cents off of
at
it.
least maybe 4. I send them to my mom, so at least 4.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless, hopefully anybody that does take the time to listen to it will enjoy it, and hopefully.
I think there's a bit of everything for everyone.
Exactly. There's something that you can find that you'll like. If you don't like all of it, you'll probably like something. But
Yeah. When the days are done, coming soon.
yeah, enjoy.
If you're so great.